All right, so ChatGPT. Everyone's talking about it, right? Seems like it can do just about anything. Write code, poems, even college essays. But how does it actually work? And how can you use it? We're taking a deep dive into ChatGPT today, starting with the basics.
Yeah, it's really amazing how fast ChatGPT has taken off. It just launched last November, and already it's making such a huge impact.
It really is everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's back up a bit. What exactly is ChatGPT, and how does it fit into this whole world of AI?
So ChatGPT is a great example of what we call generative AI. Basically, it's AI that can create new content like text, images, music based on what it's learned. And ChatGPT is really good at this, especially when it comes to language.
Okay, so it's not just spitting back information, it's actually creating things. That's pretty wild. But our sources mention it can handle more than just text, right? Images, audio. Is there anything ChatGPT can't do?
Well, it's definitely versatile, but what really makes ChatGPT stand out is its ability to work with language. And
Ah,
that's really important because language is, at the heart of how we communicate and interact with the world. I mean, think about it. We use language to express ideas, to tell stories, even to write code, and ChatGPT can tap into all of that.
that makes sense. But there's this technical term that keeps popping up, neural networks. Our sources say ChatGPT's network has like 175 billion parameters. What does that even mean? And why should we care?
Ah, yes, the famous 175 billion parameters. Sounds complicated, right? But it's actually pretty simple. Think of those parameters like connections in ChatGPT's brain. Each connection helps it understand and process language, in a more nuanced way. And because it has so many of these connections, it can learn these incredibly complex patterns in the data it's trained on.
So the more parameters, the better it understands language, right? It's like
Yeah.
having a super brain for words and ideas.
Exactly. You got it. Think of it like this. If you're learning any language, the more words and grammar rules you learn, the better you'll be at understanding and speaking, right? It's the same with ChatGPT. All those parameters help it grasp the nuances of language in a way that simpler AI systems just can't.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. But why all the hype? What makes ChatGPT so different from just like using Google?
It's the ability to generate new things. A search engine, it retrieves information that already exists, but ChatGPT can create something completely new. Need a poem in the style of, say, Shakespeare? ChatGPT can do that. Want to write an email marketing campaign? ChatGPT can help. It's really like having a creative assistant at your fingertips.
That sounds incredibly useful. Our sources mention everything from writing different kinds of creative content to translating languages, even providing personalized feedback. I mean, it seems like the possibilities are endless.
And that's what makes it so exciting. It's not just a one-trick pony. It can be used for so many things, from like everyday tasks to really creative projects. It can help you brainstorm ideas, automate things, even learn new stuff.
Okay, you've definitely got me interested, but I have to admit, I'm still a little fuzzy on how it actually works on a practical level. I
Yeah.
mean, how does it go from a bunch of code to generating text that sounds like a human wrote it?
Well, at its core, ChatGPT uses something called natural language processing, or NLP. It's basically this field of AI that's all about teaching computers to understand and generate human language. And ChatGPT is really good at this because of those powerful neural networks we talked about.
So it's using those billions of parameters to understand the nuances of language, just like we do.
Exactly. ChatGPT has been trained on a massive amount of text data, and that allows it to pick up on patterns and relationships within language. It can actually understand the context of your requests and generate responses that are relevant and make sense and surprisingly sound a lot like a human wrote them.
Wow, it's almost like it's learning to think and talk like we do. So if I ask it a question, it's not just pulling a pre-programmed answer from some database.
Right. It's not just relying on pre-written responses. It's actually processing your request in real time, considering the context, and coming up with a unique answer. That's what makes it so different from, like those basic chatbots that can only handle a few simple questions.
This is really starting to make sense. So I'm picturing this massive database of information, complex algorithms that can understand language, and a system that generates unique responses.
Yeah.
But how do we actually interact with it? Is there like a special language we need to learn to talk to ChatGPT?
Nope. That's the beauty of it. You don't need to learn any kind of code or special commands. You just talk to it using normal, everyday language.
Wait, really? So I can just type in a question or a request like I'm talking to another person?
Pretty much. The key is to write effective prompts. You can think of a prompt like a set of instructions, like giving someone directions. The clearer and more specific you are, the better the results you'll get.
Okay, that's good to know. So no need to become a coding expert to use ChatGPT. But we keep mentioning prompting. What makes a good prompt? Are there any secrets to getting the best results from ChatGPT?
That's where prompt engineering comes in. It's all about crafting prompts that guide ChatGPT to give you exactly what you're looking for. And that's where things get really interesting because there are a bunch of techniques you can use to really fine-tune your prompts and get even more impressive results.
This is getting me excited. It's like learning the secret code to unlock a whole new world of possibilities. But before we get too deep into the world of prompts, let's take a step back. How do we actually get started with ChatGPT? Where do we go? What do we do?
It's super easy to get started. You just go to OpenAI's website and create an account. They've got a free version, and then there's a paid version called ChatGPT Plus.
So there are options for people who just want to try it out,
Uh-huh.
and then options for people who want to really dive in. What are the main differences between the free version and ChatGPT Plus?
Yeah, the free version is a great way to, get your feet wet and experiment with ChatGPT. It gives you access to the basic features so you can play around and see what it can do. ChatGPT Plus, it has some extra perks like faster response times and access to some more advanced features.
So if you're serious about using ChatGPT maybe for work or for creative projects, then ChatGPT Plus might be worth it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll come back to those options later. So let's say I've signed up for an account and I'm sitting here looking at a blank screen.
Yeah.
What are some of the coolest, most practical things I can actually do with ChatGPT?
Well, one of the most basic but super useful things you can do is just have it generate text. Like you can ask it to write anything. A short story, a song, a business plan, a technical manual. You can even tell it what style you want, what tone, how long you want it to be. It's pretty amazing.
It's like having a personal writer on call 24/7. But our sources also talk about other capabilities too, like translating languages, summarizing complicated information, even brainstorming ideas.
You got it. It can analyze text, answer your questions in a really informative way, and even help you think outside the box.
This is impressive. It sounds like ChatGPT could be a game changer for, students, writers, businesses, pretty much anyone who works with language.
Yeah, it really has the potential to change things in a big way. But just like with any powerful tool, it's important to use it, thoughtfully and responsibly. But we'll get into all that later. For now, let's focus on all the cool things it can do. Ready to explore some real-world examples of how people are using ChatGPT?
Absolutely. I'm really curious to see how this all translates into, practical applications. Let's dive in.
All right, we'll start with some real-world success stories. Prepare to be amazed.
Okay, you're saying people are already out there using ChatGPT to do some pretty amazing things. I'm ready for those real-world examples. What kind of impact are we seeing with this AI?
Well, it's really incredible how quickly people have figured out all these creative ways to use ChatGPT in their work and, even in their daily lives. One area where it's really taking off is marketing. Like imagine being able to create content that's specifically tailored to, what your audience is interested in, or even personalize customer interactions on a large scale.
Yeah.
ChatGPT can help with all of that.
So instead of spending hours trying to write the perfect email or social media post, you could just have ChatGPT do it for you. That sounds amazing, especially if you're a busy marketer.
Yeah, it's a huge time saver. And it can do more than just writing. It can actually analyze data to find trends and patterns, which can help marketers figure out what's working and what's not, and refine their strategies. It's like having a data-driven marketing assistant that's always working for you.
Okay, you've convinced me on the marketing front.
Yeah.
But what about other fields? Our sources mention some pretty exciting things happening in education too.
Oh, absolutely. Education is another area where ChatGPT has the potential to, really shake things up. Just imagine you're a student and you're struggling with some concept in math or science. Instead of just feeling stuck, you could turn to ChatGPT for help. And it could, explain the concept in a way that makes sense to you, give you more examples, even create practice problems that are specifically designed for you.
It's like having a personal tutor available 24/7. That could be huge for students, no matter what age or how they learn best.
Exactly. And for teachers, ChatGPT can be a game changer too. It can help them create more engaging lesson plans, tailor content to different learning styles, even grade assignments more efficiently. It frees up teachers to, focus on the things that they're best at, like inspiring and mentoring their students.
Wow, it really seems like ChatGPT is having a big impact on so many different fields. But before we move on, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, the importance of using this technology thoughtfully and responsibly. Are there any potential downsides we should be aware of?
Yeah, that's a really important point. I mean, with any powerful tool, there's always the possibility for misuse, right? One thing to be aware of is accuracy. ChatGPT is super advanced, but it's important to remember that it's still, a machine learning model. It
Mhm.
learns from the data it's trained on, and if that data has biases or errors, those can show up in the output.
So it's not like some perfect all-knowing oracle. We shouldn't just take everything it says as fact. Right.
Right. Exactly. It's really important to, be critical of the information it gives you, just like you would with any other source. Always double check the facts, consider different perspectives, and, use your own judgment to evaluate what it's telling you.
It's a really important point. We need to be smart about how we use this information, no matter where it comes from. But let's shift gears a bit and talk more about those prompting techniques you mentioned before. I'm really interested in learning the secrets to getting the most out of ChatGPT.
Okay, so let's get into the world of prompt engineering. Remember, a prompt is basically the instruction you give to ChatGPT. It's like, giving someone a recipe. The more detail you provide, the better the results.
So if I want ChatGPT to write a sonnet about a cat, I can't just type, write a sonnet about a cat.
Right.
I need to give more context and guidance.
You got it. You need to think about things like the style, the tone, the structure you want. So instead of just a general request, you might say something like, write a Shakespearean sonnet about a mischievous tabby cat named Whiskers who loves napping in sunbeams and stealing treats from the kitchen counter.
Okay, so the more specific and descriptive we are, the better ChatGPT can understand what we want and give us something truly unique, right? But our sources mention other techniques too, like using examples. How does that work?
Ah, yes, examples. That's a really powerful technique that can really take your prompting to the next level. Let's say you want ChatGPT to write a product description for a new type of coffee. Instead of just asking it to write a description, you could give it a few examples of other product descriptions that you like. That way, ChatGPT gets a better sense of the style, the tone, the structure you're going for.
So it's like giving ChatGPT a model to follow. It helps it understand what we're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. It's like showing an artist a reference image before they start painting. It helps them, get a better understanding of what you want and make sure the final product matches your vision.
Okay, those are some great tips. It seems like the key to mastering ChatGPT is to treat it like, a collaborator. We need to give it clear instructions, set expectations, and give it the tools it needs to do its best work.
Mm.
But we've been focusing a lot on the technical side of ChatGPT. I want to go back to those real-world examples. You mentioned some pretty amazing success stories earlier.
Oh, yeah. There are tons of great examples out there. We already talked about marketing and education, but ChatGPT is also making a big splash in a lot of other industries. Take healthcare, for example. Imagine using ChatGPT to create personalized patient education materials that are easy to understand and, tailored to specific medical conditions.
That would be incredible. It would really empower patients and help them understand their health better. What are some other examples?
Well, ChatGPT is being used to streamline all kinds of administrative tasks in hospitals, to help with medical research, and even to explore new possibilities in, drug discovery. It's a really versatile tool, and it has the potential to, completely change how we think about healthcare.
This is amazing. It seems like every time we dig a little deeper, we find even more ways that ChatGPT can be used. But we've covered a lot of ground already. Should we move on to the last part of our deep dive and start wrapping things up?
Yeah, let's pull it all together. We can recap some key takeaways, share some final thoughts, and leave our listeners with something interesting to think about.
Sounds good. I'm ready to process all this amazing information and start thinking about how I can use ChatGPT to, make a difference.
That's the spirit. Let's finish up our ChatGPT adventure.
So we've really explored the world of ChatGPT, haven't we? From the basics of how it works to all the amazing things people are doing with it.
It's pretty mind-blowing, isn't it? We've seen how it can write all kinds of creative stuff, translate languages, answer questions, even come up with new ideas.
Yeah, ChatGPT is definitely a powerful tool, but like any tool, it's all about knowing how to use it the right way. As we wrap up our deep dive, what are some of the most important things our listeners should keep in mind when they start experimenting with ChatGPT?
Well, one thing that's really crucial is being as clear as possible in your prompts. The more details you give ChatGPT, the better it's going to understand what you want. And that means you're more likely to get the results you're hoping for.
So it's not just about telling ChatGPT what to do, it's about working with it like a partner. We need to give it context, set expectations, and guide it in the right direction.
That's a great way to put it. It's really more of a conversation than, just giving orders. It's like if you were asking a friend to help you write a song, you wouldn't just say, hey, write me a song, right? You'd tell them what kind of song you wanted, what kind of mood you were going for, what instruments you were thinking about, maybe even give them some ideas for lyrics.
That's a perfect analogy. So instead of just saying, write me a poem about a tree, we might say, write a haiku about a solitary oak tree standing on a windswept hill. Make it about resilience and solitude.
Exactly. The more details you can give it, the more ChatGPT has to work with. And that's how you get those really impressive results. And, don't forget about using examples. Showing ChatGPT a few examples of the kind of style or format you're looking for can be really helpful too.
Those are some great takeaways. But before we finish, I want to bring up one more thing that I think is really important. We've talked about all the amazing things ChatGPT can do, but at the end of the day, it's still just a tool, right? It's up to us to use it responsibly and ethically.
Absolutely. It's easy to get carried away with new technology, but we always need to think about the potential consequences and use our best judgment.
Right, like we talked about being careful about verifying information and being aware of potential biases. Just because ChatGPT generates something doesn't automatically make it true or unbiased, right?
You got it. It's like anything else we see online. We need to be critical thinkers, check the facts, and think about where the information is coming from.
So as we step into this exciting new world of AI, let's do it with a sense of wonder and possibility, but also with, a good dose of caution and responsibility.
Well said. The future of AI is full of potential, but it's up to us to make sure we're using it to benefit everyone.
Now, before we wrap up completely, I want to leave our listeners with a question to think about. We've explored a lot of the how-tos of ChatGPT, but the real question is, how are you going to use this amazing tool? How will you use it to make a difference in your life, your work, or maybe even the world?
That's a great question to leave everyone with. It's time to get creative, explore the possibilities, and see where this AI journey takes you.
And if you come up with any amazing ChatGPT creations or discover something really insightful, we want to hear about it. Write to us and share your experiences.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the limits of what's possible with AI.
Happy prompting, everyone.